Today, I want to talk about a sun-soaked summer movie that is so hot, sweaty, and dirty, you feel like taking a shower after watching it. That movie is Tobe Hooper's horror masterpiece, The Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Despite the title, the film has surprisingly little gore, but what it does have is disturbing imagery, lots of bones, people hanging from hooks, a chainsaw wielding man wearing another person's face like a mask, and a few family members who are just as crazy as he is. The film begins with a group of friends traveling in their van on a trip through rural Texas. They pick up a strange looking hitchhiker who is clearly mentally disturbed. After that, things began to go pretty crazy. The film has a beautiful look to it. It was shot on 16mm film and that gives it very grainy look. The grainy look is perfect for this type of film and really adds to the creepy atmosphere. The shots of the rural location make you feel completely isolated, like there is no escape from this homicidal family. Texas is so big, but it feels like there's nowhere to go for help. The rural landscape is endless, and there is no one else around to save you. The group of friends seem like real people who truly know each other rather than actors reading from a script. Franklin, one of the more memorable characters, is in a wheelchair, and I felt sorry for him. Some people think he is annoying, but I think that he is just frustrated and emotional over his physical condition. It would be very hard to move around in a wheelchair, especially in this movie, since it mostly takes place on bumpy, grassy fields rather than smooth, paved ground. The actor who played Franklin did a wonderful job at portraying the character's anxiety and frustrations. He also did a great job portraying Franklin's fear. And this movie is full of fear. Sally is the final girl. She is one of the all-time greats along with Laurie, Sidney Prescott, and Ellen Ripley, to name a few. Sally is one of the all-time great screamers. I was shocked when I watched this movie. Her throat must have hurt horribly during and after filming because of all the screaming Tobe Hooper had her do. I think the last half of the movie is just her screaming non-stop for the most part. I like how the villains in the movie are family. The Sawyer family are truly demented, vile people. I like how we don't know much about their backstory, other than bits and pieces we hear from the cook. We know that their family must have been in the meat business for a long time, considering Grandpa is supposed to be well over 100 years old and seems to be very enthusiastic about killing and butchering. I think that Grandpa is my favorite character just because of how absurd his big scene is when his sons keep putting the hammer in his hand, trying to help him bash Sally's over the head with it. The scene is very disturbing and bizarre to watch. I remember the first time I watched this movie, or I tried to watch this movie. It was before I became a big horror fan. I admit I actually turned the movie off during the hitchhiker scene because I found the atmosphere and tension so uncomfortable and weird. This was years ago and I had never seen anything like it at the point. I did not revisit the movie and attempt to watch it again until years later. Now I've seen it several times and I really think it's a masterpiece. The fact that I initially turned it off at the beginning is a testament to how effective its horror is. It might even be a perfect movie. I don't mean it's a movie I want to necessarily watch all the time, because it is quite grim and difficult to watch despite the lack of gore, But I mean that in technical and storytelling sense, it feels perfect. There is nothing I would change at all. The casting, the script, the beautiful 16mm cinematography, the direction, location, the grungy atmosphere, and the colorful cast of characters. The Texas Chain Saw Massacre is true masterpiece, not just of horror, but of cinema in general. It is interesting to watch the film and its sequel back to back. They couldn't be further apart in terms of style despite being directed by the same man. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a flat-out horror comedy, while the first is pure horror. Although I admit, the first movie also does have quite a bit of absurd, uncomfortable humor in it. But it's not as in-your-face as the sequel. I prefer the first movie by a wide margin, but the sequel is definitely a fun movie. And Dennis Hopper gives it his all with a crazy performance. He's delight to watch. But let's talk about the original movie, since that's what this video is about. I'm a big fan of Ed Neal's portrayal of the hitchhiker. Like I said before, when I first started this movie years ago, I had to turn it off during the scene because of how creeped out I felt. It was really a strange feeling, and it's still unlike any other scene I've ever seen in horror. The tension in the scene just keeps ramping up more and more as he sits there with the young travelers who made a fatal mistake of picking him up, and he seems to try to feel them out and find out where they're going and their good potential victims. When he grabs Franklin's knife, you can feel the nervousness dripping off the screen from all the characters. You know that this hitchhiker is truly unwell, and that it was a very bad idea to have picked him up. When they manage to kick him out of the van, you feel temporary relief until you realize that this is still the beginning of the movie. And there is a lot more craziness to come. I really like the setting of this movie, and I like to maybe visit one day. I know they moved the original house to a different location pretty far away in another part of Texas, which is interesting. You can visit it and eat there, and on the second floor I think they have a sort of museum showing things from the movie. I would like to visit this house someday. Maybe. But then again, I think it might be too scary. Let's talk about Leatherface. After all, what kind of video would it be if I didn't talk a little about the most famous character from the movie? He's truly creepy. The actor had to really do all he could with his eyes and lips. The zoom in on his face when he is stressed out is very disturbing, showing him licking his lips as he seems deep in thought and racked with anxiety. I think his first scene is one of the greatest ever, when he suddenly appears from behind the doorway and hits the character over the head with a hammer, then slides the door violently shut. What a shocking scene! I can only imagine how startled the audience was when they saw this film in theaters in 1970s. It must have been such a frightening thing to see play out, with the craziness of the events elevating more and more as the film goes on. I try to imagine what I would do if I were in Sally's position, and I guess I would do the same thing she does in the movie. Run and scream and run some more. That's really all you can do in the situation like this. Run and fight for your life. The cook is another interesting character, and he adds an important and disgusting layer to the film since he shows us that The family cooks people and serves them as barbecue to unassuming travelers. Gross. I like how at first you're not sure about him. You can tell, of course, that he is weird and something is probably off about him, but you don't know if he is necessarily bad until Sally stumbles into his barbecue restaurant and tries asking him for help. You suspect he is bad, but you hope that you are wrong. You hope that he is a good guy who will help, but deep down you know that isn't going to be the case. This isn't kind of the movie where help shows up very often. When Sally meets the cook and begs him for help, that's when all hell breaks loose and the film gets really crazy back at the house. The dinner scene is iconic, with the Sawyer family together sharing a meal with Sally, who sits at the far end of the table and screams her head off. I like the artistic close-up of Sally's eyes during this scene. It makes you, the viewer, feel like you're losing your mind along with her. I can't say enough good things about this movie, and again, I want to mention the interesting fact that it really does not have as much blood in it as you'd expect. Sure, there are some moments you see blood splatter, but it is not over the top and cartoonish. It feels so real, so brutal, and so terrifying. It is one of the scariest and most disturbing movies ever made. It's also one of the best. It's really cool how Tobe Hooper was able to make the film so terrifying without even having much gore in it. It really shows how talented he was, along with the rest and the cast and crew. Thanks for watching this video on Texas Chain Saw Massacre. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel for more videos on all things horror.